And I'm Vice President of Citizens Concerned About Chloramine. And our group formed shortly after chloramine was put in the San Francisco water by the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission.
I see. And Director Spoor has told me that you personally had adverse effects to that chloramine infusion in the water.
Yes, I did. I first noticed my mouth was dry. It didn't really quench my thirst. My mouth kept getting drier and drier. And then I noticed this really horrible pain in my stomach. And because I had been drinking the water and then a few seconds later noticed the pain got worse, I connected it to the water and decided to go out and buy bottled spring water. And sure enough, those symptoms went away. So then I thought, well, all right, maybe it's in my head, or maybe because of the changeover, there's been extra stuff in the water that might affect me. So I went back to the tap water, but all the symptoms came back. And it's continued to get worse and worse.
It just doesn't make sense to take a supplemental water supplier and add ammonia. And that's basically what chloramines are. And I've since then been educated a lot about chloramines. But if you just go on the premise that you're adding ammonia to the water, and chemically you're forcing what the water district will do, it'll charge the water with chlorine first. The chlorine will do some disinfection, and then you'll force ammonia to combine with it in a pressurized system and to get them to combine. They're not naturally combining. It's an unnatural combination chemically, and of course then you run into other problems trying to keep it together and keep it from nitrifying.
And it's recommended in all the chloraminated systems that we've visited and talked to, the operators all recommend that the systems be purged once a year with free chlorine. Because if there is an imbalance in anywhere in the system of ammonias, it tends to cause tuberoles or little blisters, especially in steel pipe. And it allows microbacteria to grow in there. It's not harmful to your health, but it does cause nitrification. They liberate nitrogen, and you end up with an overbalance of ammonia dichloride and trichloride that cause odors and cause bad tastes. As far as they know, the limited quantities typically produced in a nitrification system are not health hazards. But people take one look at that murky water and smell it and they say, no way, I'm not going to have any part of that. What it would cost us is probably any given event, if we were to have nitrification out of one point here, we'd have to flush the entire system with free chlorine water. That means people would be out of water in certain areas for several days probably, at least a day. And you would also be looking at an additional cost on our part, somewhere in the range of about $5,000 to $10,000 per event, depending on the labor costs and the chemicals and so on and so forth. So we're talking about a major event, and again, most systems that we visited and talked to, they just, as a standard practice, flush the system once a year.
It's still a good format to go through. So you can see from that first slide who I am. I work for Vermonters for a Clean Environment, and we're a small environmental nonprofit that, despite our name, is working nationally on the chloramine issue, and has been doing so for just about 2 years now. So if you go to the next slide, in a few weeks, if not months, of being away from the water, his symptoms all resolved. I can't get a doctor to go on the record saying that these health problems are definitively caused by chloramine, because they won't do so because there is no study that will allow them to make that diagnosis. And it's very important to point out that means that the EPA approved the use of this chemical without tests that showed its safety.
In the San Francisco Peninsula, our water pipes are very old. There are a lot of underground leaks, and this is seeping out into the creeks again, underwater. Canada, actually in the year 2000, because of water main breaks and water leaks into their rivers, it was killing their salmonid population. They declared chloramine to be toxic, and they're trying to do alternate disinfection. So it's not just in San Francisco It's all over. This water tank is less than 5 years old. Here's the intake valve, still nice and clean. Out valve is corroded. The pressure valve was so corroded that this tank exploded out the bottom. Within a year after chloramine conversion, we had many, many water tanks explode out the bottom, mine included, 3 days before Thanksgiving. Here's a water pipe, a copper pipe. Every clamp on there is a pinhole leak. This again is in Washington, D.C., but it shows you how the chloramine was eating up copper pipe. And this woman, she lost her house basically because of mold in the walls, because her copper pipe was leaking so badly in your walls.
Right, but as far as the chloramines, in your own mind, do you feel information you've gotten that it's healthy for people to drink?
I haven't made a decision. I'm still. I thought it was healthy when we were looking at it originally because the Department of Health Services approve it and Cal EPA approves of it.
Right.
So and I'm finding out more. I'm coming to some of these meetings, learning some different things.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'll have to just
Sure.
figure that out and do some more research.
Think of the chloramine issue in the water.
Well, I've read some about it, but they certainly presented some more compelling evidence than what I've seen before. Especially the first-person accounts, both on the phone and the first person, the lady that came down from Northern California.
Right.
Certainly, I'm interested in looking at all sides, and that's currently what I'm doing right now.
Sure.
Our participation will be looking at water resources, what are currently available, and how they can be extended in order to handle future growth. And then the county will also look at transportation, circulation. They'll look at the impacts, since we're adjacent to Edwards, both overflights, noise, environmental, biota in reference to all the different critters. They're out in the desert area, and then they'll come up with recommendations, have public hearings in our area, and then once it's concurred on, it'll then go to supervisors for approval.
Scoreboard for the school here, and they're going to be putting in new light standards for stadium lights and stuff. So
So
to go with the new bleachers and press box and stuff.
So you're gonna dig the hole for the lights?
Yep, looks like it.
16 feet.
Yep, 16 feet deep. Got an auger room 16 feet.
That's pretty deep.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to fall in there. It'd be hard to get out.
Might not get back out.
Yes, for sure.